Hi. Today I want to talk about courage and all the different types of courage and how it applies, or how you can apply them in your life. So first I want to talk about and see what is the definition of courage. What exactly is that? So Merriam-Webster defines courage as the mental or moral strength to venture, persevere, or withstand danger, fear, or difficulty, which is a really good definition. So there's different types of courage. And well, first of all, talk about the one we are most familiar with, the one of physical courage, warrior courage kind of thing. Keep seeing yourself, putting yourself in peril, in danger, and charging into battle or jumping off a cliff or out of a plane. That kind of courage of like, no, instead of like obvious. So courage is doing and taking an action in spite of courage, in spite of fear. Sorry. So doing that is like there's a fear of your imminent danger, of imminent things. So that's the one we most familiar with, of taking real courage, real a big step to your to keep yourself from doing that, and also the courage of like doing things that require a lot of perseverance, a lot of endurance and physical hardship. So doing withstanding something like that. We all admire that and see it in the movies, and it's very clear and known what is this about, and easy to imagine that. Now, there's a few more types of courage that are more important and are more applied towards you. These are things that happen once in a while. They're not something that happens in your daily life. So I want to apply and talk about different types of courage now that you can utilize more in your daily life. Now, what's the real issue here? First of all, the first and biggest issues is this fear. There's fear of, in whatever types of courage or situation, there's fear of, again, imminent danger, threat to yourself, shame, guilt, fear of conflict. So there's all different types of fear that can stand in your way of doing what you feel is the right thing to do. So there's obviously what's called moral courage. So that is doing the right thing, even if it's uncomfortable or unpopular. Now, that is obviously, no, we have great examples of that. It's very admired. For example, standing up to evil tyrants and doing what's right, and different things like that. And that is something very admired and very rarely done. So that is something that's important to know. We all know that this is something to aspire towards, but it is something that is very uncomfortable, because it is sometimes in the threat of livelihood, of your livelihood, of your life, and could be a threat to your reputation, to what people will think of you. But standing to what's right is something that a lot of people, at the moment that it happens, have a hard time doing that. And that is something that we need to work on. So let's talk about a few more types of courage, like the social courage, to be yourself unapologetically, to have that type of, again, courage against, despite the fear of being ridiculed, being shamed, being ostracized, rejected, all really deep fears that we hold inside, and still doing what is you, being yourself in public. Again, I'm not talking about being a jerk or being unpleasant. I said, like, oh, this is the way I am. That's not what I'm talking about. It's not about being hurtful, or like there's a basic rule of no, do as you please, but do no harm. If you harm others, if you harm yourself, that's not the right thing. You're not doing it the right way. So it's about really being yourself, being acknowledging who you are in the social settings, and not allowing yourself to be not who you are, to say the wrong things, that just to please others, and that kind of stuff. That takes social courage, and that obviously is more of a, you can talk about even in any relationship with loved ones, family, friends. It's being that yourself, being self, or like, no, that's not okay with me, that kind of stuff. So that takes the courage, that kind of a courage, which is, again, something that we encounter more on the daily basis. And it seemed like, no, there's a smaller risk involved generally, but we know that there's a longer consequence risk of doing something that will upset others or will cause rejection or conflict. And we all tend to avoid those things because we don't want that. However, it is a type of courage. So in spite of your fear of that happening, or the unknown, or the uncertainty that might come with it, is being in your center, being courageous to be yourself and to have the boundaries and stand for those boundaries in a healthy way. So that's the social courage. I want to also talk about emotional courage. No, feeling all your emotions, positive or negative, without guilt or attachments. And beyond that, no, you can see that, no, very easy to see, like men, very powerful men doing the physical courage, the warrior courage, and they do really well at that. Very easy for them. But see them talk about their emotions. Ooh, that rarely happens. That's a different kind of courage. That's a courage of being vulnerable. Courage of being vulnerable, but there's something about importance about the courage of being vulnerable, because it gives you the power of like your authenticity, of showing and dealing with your emotions, because that is one of the things that I see in my work as something that rarely happens in a deep way, and it needs to be a constant work on dealing. What is it I'm feeling right now? What is it that's happening within me right now? So the awareness of it and the courage to allow yourself to feel it, because a lot of us really tend to not want to feel unpleasant emotions that are negative in nature. And it's about accepting who you are, accepting all that you are, and like, yeah, I have these emotions now. I don't have to go through it and be completely overwhelmed by it. That's not the point. But acknowledging it, understanding it, where is it coming from? What's the root cause? Why is it there? Why is it coming up now? What is the trigger around it? So having that emotional courage to, what is this about? Why am I being feeling this emotion? And understand this is an emotion that comes up. Why? And what is the point of it? What am I to learn about it? What is the deeper lesson? And I have a lot more work on that I do, deep emotional release, and in my work that I also teach that. So, and that is one of the biggest things that we just don't learn to do as humans. We all know, we all learn socially very clearly about physical courage, warrior courage, and moral courage. But all those different courages are something that's more unsaid, expected and admired, but unsaid, and really not paid enough attention to. Another type of courage is intellectual courage. And I took it just really was just a little cute little meme that came up on Facebook, and I just loved it. And I reposted it, and I decided to do something about it because I talked to a friend of mine, Larry Kennedy, and we talked about it. He's like, I love this. I want to do it in my circle that I do for the teens that we all work with in Boys to Men, and talk about the different types of courage. And I decided to do this video based on that. So intellectual courage. And that is the courage to learn, to unlearn, and relearn with an open and flexible mind. And that is something that I see is very difficult for many people, because there's a comfort in what I know and what I already am just in my world scheme. This is what I am comfortable with, my belief system and the way I see the world. And that it takes a lot of courage and a lot of openness to, oh, wow, I thought this is the way. I thought this is the way things are. And now I'm open to learn and unlearn what I have learned, what I think I know. So a lot of things that you might have, again, this is more deeper work on personal work about, okay, how do I see the world? What is the world about? How people are? How am I as a being, as a person, as a spirit? So it takes a lot more than just, and it really is a change of worldview and belief systems, and also, and you can see that in a more conventional way, in ways that science likes to learn and makes declarations like, oh, we think this is the way, and then 10 years later, like, oh, wow, I realize this is different and this is the way it is. And it does take that courage to admit to the fact that you thought something is a certain way and it's not, and doing it in public. And then we're like, you know what, we learn more and we understand it now. This is the way it is, which is different than what we thought before. So this is also a constant process, and a constant process of refinement. of belief system. And I see that a lot also in more kind of, you can say, how people are awakening now and moving into their ascension. And they sometimes kind of grasp into certain ideas and become obsessed with it, and realize this needs to be also a lot of balance. And we all fell for it. And sometimes we're like, oh my God, this is great. This is the way. And no, it's not necessarily the only way. There's balance, there's perspective that grows with time and experience. And it's like, in recognition, like, this was not the only way. There's other ways of perceiving things, and there's purer ways to see the essence of things, and not just think that that's the only way, or this is the only way, and only this religion and only that type of spirituality is the way. So it's important to know and be flexible and be open and be accepting of things. The last one that I like to talk about is spiritual courage, and that's the living with purpose. And this is a very hard one, and takes a lot of guts in that way, a lot of courage, and really go to your living life with meaning through your heart-centered approach and towards life and oneself. And that's living with purpose. And it's also living and taking that courage to do big steps in your life. And I remember my own steps of moving away from, you can say, more conventional jobs, which I already did this kind of work before. And I slowly kind of transitioned into it, but it still is the courage. That is always that moment in which it becomes inevitable. And you need to make that step of like, I'm changing my career. There's a financial risk. Yes. There's an unknown. Yes. But I have to do it because that's my purpose. That's my mission. And I'm not saying everybody should do that right away without thinking about it through and making a plan, because it is something that you need to make that step in reality. So don't just, it's not about making stupid choices, or saying, again, you're jumping off a cliff without really seeing if there's something on the bottom. You need to make sure that there's something to make it to bring it to reality and manifest it into reality in a way that is not necessarily safe, but there's a lot of uncertainty, but it is your mission, it is your goal, you know it, but you got to take care of things. You got to take care of the bills sometimes. And you just got to work sometimes a part-time job before you able to do it full-time. Not just like, that's it, I quit everything and I'll spend my savings until it's gone, and then I'm stuck. So that's just a knee-jerk reaction. You got to do a plan. You got to think about it. And sometimes it's the right thing to do. Sometimes people need to do that to create a stark separation of what is. But so it's a lot about that, a lot about moving to a new place and doing it just because I need to do it, because it's in my highest good, because it's something that I want to do, because it'll help me be more of who I am. And that's really important to do that. But again, it's mostly about working your purpose and meaning, and bringing that deeper meaning to life, like that really something that satisfies your deepest heart and spirit. And that is, once you start doing that, it's hard to go back, because it's just so beautiful, so satisfying, so enriching. And that takes courage to do. And I see that a lot now in people who are awakening, who are moving into their purpose and mission. And it is the process not only about how, but what is that mission, and having clarity around what that mission is, so you can take those how steps to get to that place. But again, requires courage. And the biggest thing I want to say about courage and doing those different things about the social courage, moral courage, emotional courage, intellectual courage, and spiritual courage is the fact of knowing and recognizing that there's still fear there. And you have to do it in order to get to a more, you can say, ascended place, which is free of fear. But you have to encounter those fears. You have to overcome those fears, face those fears, and work in spite of them, and then learn how to heal them, and really move and allow yourself to be working out of love and passion and mission. And then you reach that place in which you simply operate free of fear. But courage is an important step to reach that. And that step can take months, years, decades. For me, it's decades, working through all those different types, different things. And even if I had a lot of courage throughout my life, still is like there still was a lot of fear at some points. Again, when I made those big choices to drop no a normal career and move into this field, and 15, 20 years ago. So it's doing those kind of things, but there still was plenty of fear, and I need to work a lot on myself, clearing a lot of fears. So fear of how people perceive me, fear of how am I making a living of this? How am I going to really show myself up in different situations? So it's really a very complex inner process that needs to happen. But there is that point in which once you encounter and deal and clear and heal all those different types of fear, different layers of the same issues, same themes in your life that you need to work on, you'll be able to get to that place that you are free of that fear, or it no longer is in your way. And there, you can just be yourself and allow yourself to be and operate from that place. I'm just being who I am in the world. Okay. And in that point, courage has been mastered and it is no longer needed. So enjoy your journey. It's a beautiful one. Enjoy it.